4,200 warships held the dark between stars and let the raw math do their talking. Fleet Master Gret stood on the bridge of the flagship, his 4 eye ridges fixed on the tactical display. The planet Sol 3 hung at the edge of his range, small and blue. His fleet formed a wall 5,000 kilometers wide across the primary orbital lane. Earth had 24 hours to sign the surrender terms or watch their orbital networks burn. Subcommander Sol adjusted his sensor controls. "My lord, a single vessel just cleared the upper atmosphere of the third planet." Gret did not shift his stance. "A escort, a destroyer." "Neither," Sol said. He zoomed in on the hull readings. "It is a frigate, 800 meters long, no active weapon bays, no heavy armor." Gret looked at the scanner projection. The ship had flat silver ribs running the length of its outer plating. They were not weapon tracks. They were long, integrated array housings. Sol hit a diagnostic key twice. Signal array output specs exceed standard relay stations by 3 orders of magnitude. "They sent a messenger with a good antenna," Gret said. "Move 3 heavy cruisers forward, block their path." If you want to hear how quiet dark space gets when the math turns around, stay right here and keep your eyes on the grid. 31 years prior, Earth had received its first signal from the hegemony, a short message warning humanity that expansion was forbidden. Humanity had replied with a polite confirmation of receipt, and then stopped sending deep space signals entirely. On the bridge of the frigate Warden, Captain Adira Walsh watched the red wall of warships fill her viewport. Lieutenant Das kept his hand steady on the maneuvering thrusters. 3 heavy cruisers moving to intercept, Captain. They are bringing their kinetic batteries online." "Hold course, Lieutenant," Walsh said. Her hands rested flat against the edges of her command console. "Specialist Finn, is the array locked on the Sol grid?" Finn checked his green monitoring board. "Array is locked. Primary relay channels are clear." The main comms console chimed. The image of Fleet Master Gret resolved on the central screen. His obsidian mantle flared slightly under the bridge lights. "Human vessel," Gret said. "You are approaching a sovereign blockade line. State your business or face immediate destruction." Walsh leaned forward slightly. "Fleet Master, I am here to request that you turn your fleet around and leave Sol system space." Gret's mantle settled flat. "You have 1 undergunned frigate. We have 4,200 armored warships. Your terms are illogical." "They are not terms," Walsh said softly. "They are advice. If you stay here another 10 minutes, the situation will change." Gret cut the audio link. He turned to his gunnery officer. "Target the small uninhabited moon at grid index 4. Fire a focused thermal salvo. Let them see what 40 kilometers of vaporized rock looks like." 4 Dominion battleships turned their main turrets. A beam of white energy cut through the dark, striking the airless moon. The surface erupted in a massive silent flash. Dust and melted rock spewed into space, leaving a crater wide enough to swallow a city. Gret reopened the channel to the Warden. "That was 1% of our forward batteries. Submit your surrender now, Captain." Walsh did not look at the burning moon. She looked straight into the comms lens. "Finn. Transmit the key." Specialist Finn pressed down on a physical breaker switch on his panel. A single short pulse of compressed radio code left the silver ribs of the Warden. It carried no message, no voice, and no threat. It contained only an 8-digit encryption key. On the Dominion flagship, Sol's sensor board gave a single sharp chime. "What was that signal?" Gret asked. "A broadcast," Sol said. "Short range, low power." "Did they call for help?" "No," Sol said. He tapped his console to clear a sudden spike in static. "My lord, long-range thermal sensors are registering new contacts." "Where?" "In Sector 1, Sol said. His voice dropped. "And Sector 2, and the outer belt." Gret stepped closer to the primary display. Quantify the contacts. I am trying, Saul said. His fingers moved quickly over the controls. Sensor count just passed 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. The main tactical map shifted color. The solid black void between the stars filled with small blue markers. 80,000, Saul read off the screen. Correction, 100,000 active signatures. Gret stared at the map. The contacts were not coming from outside the solar system. They were powering on inside the system. They rose out of the dust rings, out of the dark side of airless moons, and out of the hollowed interiors of dead asteroids. Distance to nearest contact, Gret demanded. Saul checked his board. 300 kilometers behind our flagship, another 400 kilometers above our carrier group. Gret turned to his tactical lead. Why did our reconnaissance sweeps miss a fleet of 100,000 ships? They are not ships, Saul said, his eye ridges tightening as he pulled up a high-resolution render. They are automated defense platforms. They have zero life support, zero active radar, and zero thermal output. They have been running on passive solar collectors for decades. Walsh's face reappeared on the main viewer. She was pouring a glass of water from a small flask at her side. 31 years ago, your diplomats told us we were weak, Walsh said. We were terrified every single day, so we got to work. Gret snapped an order to his fleet. All vessels bring main shields to maximum, target the nearest platforms, clear an exit corridor back toward the jump gate. 4 Dominion heavy cruisers powered up their main sublight engines. Their stern thrusters blazed bright blue as they accelerated away from the main formation. A cluster of 6 stealth platforms drift-shifted into their path. They did not fire missiles. They did not launch energy beams. They emitted a short, focused electromagnetic pulse directly into the cruiser's engine housings. The blue thruster trails died instantly. The 4 cruisers drifted to a complete halt, their internal power grids going dark, leaving them floating motionlessly in the void. Saul dropped his datapad onto the deck plates. Cruisers 7 through 10 report complete mainboard lockout. Life support is active on battery reserve, but weapons and engines are dead. Target those platforms, Gret roared. We cannot lock on, Saul replied. They are broad-spectrum jamming every frequency we use. Our targeting radars are returning blank loops. Gret looked back at the tactical map. The 4,200 warships of the Dominion fleet were completely surrounded. Every asteroid in the Saul belt, every moon in the outer reach, and every debris field had turned into a cold, automated gun barrel pointing inward. Walsh took a small sip of her water. You did not surround us, Fleet Master. You placed your entire fleet inside our web. Specialist Finn wiped his eyeglasses with the hem of his uniform shirt and put them back on. On the main viewer, Walsh held up a single digital file module. This document contains Earth's non-negotiable borders. You will pull all Dominion forces back beyond the outer boundary. You will sign this agreement now, or your fleet will remain here indefinitely without propulsion. Gret stood still on his bridge deck. No shields raised, no missiles fired, no escape left. He looked at his 4,200 intact warships. Not a single hull had been breached, but his entire arming system was locked under a silent grid that had waited 31 years for a single ship to bring its key. Gret turned to his chief adjutant. Bring the communications array back online, except the transmission. The transfer took 4 seconds. Gret signed his digital seal to the document and pushed it back through the channel. The terms are signed, Gret said quietly. Thank you, Fleet Master, Walsh said. Your engine power will be restored in 5-minute waves to allow an orderly departure. Walsh signaled Finn to close the channel. The silver array ribs on the Warden slowed their hum as the active transmission phase ended. Across the Saul system, the blue markers on the tactical display did not disappear. They stayed on, holding their silent grid positions in the dark. Fleet Master Gret gave the order to turn his ship around. Outside the viewport, 4,200 warships turned back toward open space, while Dark Moon rocks kept watching.